Homies, welcome back to FiIY with Fiona. So a few weeks back, I worked on a DIY project and needed some wood beads. So I went to Joann's and picked up some wooden beads, and what I found was this massive bag of beads, and it was 50% off, and you know I can't pass up a good sale. So I ended up buying 400 little wooden beads. So after I used like 5 of them on a project, I was like, what am I going to do with this big old bag of beads? So I decided today that we'll make some bead DIYs. So in the past, I've been doing a lot of boho DIYs, but this week I decided to focus on some farmhouse DIYs. Since the farmhouse style has been in trend for the past few years, wooden beads as home decor has gotten really popular. So I'm going to use these beads and make DIYs out of them. If you guys enjoyed this video, please leave it a thumbs up and comment below on which one is your favorite project and which one you're excited to make for your home. And if you guys want to stay notified on when my videos are coming out, please subscribe below and turn on the notification button. Alright, here are the DIYs. For this first project, we are making a beautiful beaded mirror. I love the shape that this teardrop beaded mirror creates. You'll need 3 different size round wooden beads, a 7-inch mirror, string, and a yarn needle will be your go-to for all these projects, and we'll also need hot glue. We want the largest wood beads wrapping the bottom of your mirror, so start stringing the large wooden beads first. Your yarn needle will help these beads slide onto your string easily. I strung 11 large wooden beads. Next, we'll string 7 medium-sized wooden beads onto both sides of the larger beads. You can add an additional yarn needle to the other end of the string and string the other end. You can always take your mirror and see if the shape and length you are going for is what you want. Next, we'll be stringing our smallest beads. I strung 10 on both sides. Take off your yarn needles and tie the 2 ends together. Next, we'll be hot gluing our bead rope to our mirror. Lay your beads over the mirror and find the very center bead and glue that first. You can just dab some hot glue onto your center bead, flip it over, and glue it down. Continue gluing your large wooden beads down to the mirror, a few at a time. Do it for all of the larger wooden beads, then move on to the medium-sized beads. We want to create a teardrop shape, so we won't be gluing all of the medium-sized beads down. Make sure to pull the top of the rope and see how the mirror would naturally hang, and just glue the medium-sized beads that will be touching the mirror when it is hung. When you've glued all the beads you want to glue down, trim the excess string you have from the top. I added a dab of hot glue at the knot for extra security. I've been wanting to make macrame feathers for a while now, so this beaded garland was the perfect project for it. You'll need macrame cord, string, your trusty yarn needle, and small wooden beads. I used round and angular ones. Cut a 12-inch long macrame cord and fold it in half. It'll be the center of your feather. For the feathery parts, you'll need to cut 8-inch long cords, fold it in half, and lay it under the center cord. Then you'll get another folded 8-inch long cord, pull it through the loop you created on the right side, and then pull the bottom strands through your top loop and pull everything tight. Next, we'll repeat these steps but mirrored. Lay your bottom cord with the loop facing the left, pull your other cord through the loop on the left side, and then pull the bottom strands through your top loop, and then pull it tight. Keep repeating this pattern until you have around 2 inches left at the bottom of your center spine. Next, we'll untwist all of the ends of our cords. Comb out the strings so all the individual strands are loose and sticking out straight. Trim the edge of your feather, creating a rounded edge at the top and a point at the bottom. Comb out your feather and see if that is the shape you want. You can give it another trim to get the perfect feather shape. Repeat these steps for a second macrame feather. Now we'll be stringing our garland. Get your beads and cut your string to however long you want your garland to be. Thread your yarn needle and start threading your beads. The pattern I went for with this garland is 2 round beads and 1 angular bead, and repeated this pattern for the length of the garland. I ended up threading around 2.5 feet of garland. Grab your feathers and tie them onto the 2 ends of your beaded garland. Trim any loose ends. Give your feathers a final comb and you're done. This next project is super easy. We'll be creating a wooden bead tassel. You'll need a yarn in the color of your choice. Rust red is perfect for fall, a yarn needle, and large and small round wooden beads. First, we'll thread our yarn needle. Then we'll string on 15 of the large wooden beads. Then you'll grab the other end of your yarn and thread that end through the eye of the needle as well. Grab 2 more large wooden beads and thread it through both threads, and you'll create a loop with the wooden beads. It should look like this. Make sure to have extra yarn hanging at the ends. We'll need it to tie the tassel on. Next, we'll make the tassel. I used my phone as a template. Wrap the length of your phone 70 times so you get a full and fluffy tassel. After wrapping it 70 times, cut the end of the yarn. Grab your yarn with the wooden beads and slip one of the strands through the loops and tie a knot at the top. Slip the loops off your phone. Grab another piece of yarn and tie the loops together pretty close to the top so kind of a ball shape forms. I wanted to add some visual interest, so we'll thread the small wood beads and wrap it around the tassel at the neck. Thread your needle and add enough beads to wrap around the tassel. Once your yarn is threaded, wrap it around the neck of the tassel and tie it. Finally, cut the loops you created so the ends are free. Give your ends a trim so the bottom is even, and your tassel is done. Next, we'll be making an adorable mobile with a wooden bead scallop. You'll need yarn, some string, a yarn needle, small wooden beads, and a 5-inch and 6-inch embroidery hoop. For the hoops, we'll only need the inner ring of each hoop, so you can set the outer hoops aside. I used chunky gray yarn cut to around 1.5 feet in length, folded each strand in half and looped it through the smaller embroidery hoop. I kept looping the yarn onto the hoop until it was completely filled. Next, we'll do the same thing with our larger hoop. I cut a chunky white yarn to around 1.5 feet in length and repeated the same process by folding it in half, looping it around the hoop until the hoop was completely filled. Once you're done with that, give the ends a trim if they're uneven. Now we want to hang our hoops. Tie 3 strands of string separated evenly on 3 parts of the hoop.
I don't know why I did it this way. Just put your hoop on the table and tie the string onto the hoop and then bring the 3 strands together to hang it. Me trying to tie it while it's suspended makes it way more difficult, but I did it in the end. Do the same thing to the smaller hoop and tie strings to 3 points of the hoop. Then we'll tie the hoops together. Slip the smaller hoop in the middle of the larger hoop, and with the string tied to the smaller hoop, tie it to the larger hoop at the same points where the hoop is being hung from. It should end up looking like this. Time for the beads. We'll just be using small beads for this project. Thread your yarn needle and start threading your beads onto your string. I ended up stringing the beads around double the length of the perimeter of the larger hoop. So when we hang the beads, it'll create a nice scalloped effect. When you're done stringing your beads, tie a knot. We'll need to attach the beads to the larger hoop. We'll tie the bead garland at 4 points of the hoop divided evenly in quarters. Make sure you have an even amount of beads in each scallop. So once you've tied your first point, count your beads until you've split your beads in half and tie it on the opposite side of the hoop. And then find the middle point in those beads and tie those to the hoop halfway between the 2 ties we created earlier. And then do the same thing to the other side. Once everything is tied in place, you'll have tons of loose hanging threads. Give those a trim to clean everything up. Once you're done with that, you can hang up your beautiful mobile. This last project is my favorite. We're making a beaded wall hanging with eucalyptus. If you haven't seen my eucalyptus wall hangings video, I'll add a card here. For this project, we'll need string, yarn needles, a 2.5 foot long 3/4 inch dowel, different sized and shaped wooden beads, eucalyptus, and floral wire. Lay out your wooden dowel and measure out your longest wooden bead hanging and cut a bit of extra string. I thread both ends of my string with yarn needles to make it more efficient, but if you only have 1 yarn needle, that'll suffice. For the longest bead hanging, I wanted 2 large angular wood beads in the middle, then had 15 mid-sized round wooden beads on either side, then had 2 more angular beads, then 15 more medium round wooden beads, and ended both ends with 2 angular beads. I wanted to just temporarily tie the string onto the dowels so I could easily take it off after if I wanted to change the length. I did a clove hitch knot, but feel free to use any knot that is easy to take out. A clove hitch is just a loop and then another loop, and then put your first loop behind your second loop and then slip it onto the dowel. The middle hanging is easy. I just filled it with the largest sized round beads. Do the same thing as before and tie temporary knots onto the dowel. Tie the ends in between the longer wood bead hanging. For our shortest bead hanging, we'll get 2 small angular beads and thread it in the middle. Then we'll thread 10 small round wood beads on both ends, and then 2 more small angular wood beads, and then 10 more small round beads. It'll look kind of like this. Again, we'll tie the strung beads onto the dowel in between the mid-length hanging. I did temporary knots still. For these bead hangings, you don't need to follow these exact patterns I did, but feel free to mix it up and do what you think looks good. Hold up your wall hanging, and if you're happy with how your wall hanging is looking, tie your knots more permanently onto the dowel. Time to tie the eucalyptus onto your dowel. You can use fresh or dried eucalyptus. I arranged the eucalyptus how I wanted it onto the dowel and used floral wire to tie it onto the dowel. Once you've tied your eucalyptus onto the dowel, cut any loose hanging thread and you're done.
Thank you for watching this video, and I loved how these DIYs turned out, especially that adorable mobile. So please give it a thumbs up if you guys enjoyed this video, leave a comment below on your favorite project, and subscribe. Alright, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!